All right, there we go. Nothing like trying to hit a button, and once again, it being Monday. Pardon me for a second. Hang on. Yeah, allergies are lovely this time of year. John, here you there. It's a reaction Monday, so whatever's on your mind, lay it all out there on today and tomorrow. Because, like I said, I've never been one to sit there and go, yeah, I want you to hang on to negative energy all week long. Kind of reminding you of uh, the Calvin and Hobbes cartoon where I forget at the time. Uh, was it Susie? I think it was Susie. Uh, and she was the main female protagonist for Calvin and Hobbes. And so there was one Sunday cartoon where, morning, Alex, where Calvin came in and he was in a nasty mood. And it didn't matter what Susie tried to do. But at the end of it all, Calvin had transferred his bad mood to Susie, and then Susie had a bad mood. And then the last frame, and I'm paraphrasing, basically, Calvin said, "There's nothing better than sharing your bad mood with somebody else, and then having them be the same way." So uh, that's why I don't want you to hang on to that bad mood all the way through the week, because traditionally that's what we do. For those of you who are kind of new to us here and get to watch us or listen to us, however you access us. What I want to do early in the week, obviously, is I want to go over everything. I want you to get it off your chest. I don't want you to hang on to it because no one in your circle wants you to hang on to anything negative. I don't want you to hang on to anything negative. Get it out there, get it off your chest, whatever's on your mind when it comes to what happened this past weekend. Because if you look and if you remember what a lot of folks were saying, is they thought that last week against Philly was rock bottom, but then uh, you had what happened against the purple team. You don't score again. You're north of 300 minutes not having scored. All of the things. So Abe's going to join us in about 7 minutes, and it's going to be Abe. And I know that Abe's going to come in with pretty much he's going to be a house of fire. And so I have some post match from Ronnie Dyla. It's longer than normal. It's not a sound bite, but traditionally, what we want to do here is I want to give context. I want to run full sound bites. I want to run all of that. So we have some sound from Ronnie Dyla, and we have some sound from Alexei Miranchuk. So I'm going to play that this morning. Probably will get into, since Bart is actually working on a Monday, Bart is at the home of Carolina Core, and so he's having to work this morning. So we'll probably independently get into some reffing down here because, once again, it happened last night in the LA St. Louis match where you had some re-refereeing. Dale Johnson has his stuff out from over on the other side of the Atlantic. We'll get into that. So there will be reffing down here in hour number 2. And we'll get into, once again, what happened in the matchup with Atlanta United and the purple team, because you had a moment there as well. And I'm glad that everybody has had the opportunity, or has outwardly talked about the opportunity that we had to catch up with Mark Geiger. And I know I left some stuff on the table, and I'm kicking myself for it. And so probably what I'm going to do is send an email just to our friends at Pro and ask about clear and obvious and re-refereeing and all those kinds of things, just to get a response in a particular incident. And then when Inside the VAR Studio comes out on Friday, it will be intriguing to see how it's addressed and if any of it is addressed. Atlanta, St. Louis, LA, and anything else on the board. So we will have some reffing down here in hour number 2. We will have some longer than normal sound. Like I said, it's Ronnie Dyla, and Ronnie's is about 4.5 minutes. But like I said, it's worth your time. I'm not going to sit here. I would much rather play longer sound bites for context instead of 20 seconds, and then you're sitting there and you're going to have a reaction of this or that when it wasn't close to what, if you listen to a full stretch, what you're saying, what you're hearing from what they're saying. So, like I said, we've got about 4.5 minutes of Ronnie Dyla. We've got about 2 minutes of Alexei Miranchuk. And it has to do with flushing the result and then moving on to Nashville coming to town here this weekend. And I will be the first person to say this week. For those of you, Emilio, I'm working on that. Emilio's asking about getting Garth or Hendy on, and I that has been part of my process in trying to get folks, whether it's Javier Perez or anybody from the front office. I have been working on that progression. So yes, the answer is yes. That is efforting, as they say in the news business. Because I know that there are questions that you guys have, whether it's about personnel or philosophy or what have you. And like I said, today and tomorrow, seriously, get it out there. I want to know what's on your mind. Just get it off your chest. Because come the weekend and the matchup against Nashville, because of where this team is now, this is where they're going to need you more. They're going to need you against the team that wants to call you a rival. They're going to need you going up against the team that just absolutely just mollywopped Chicago. And I can't believe I just used that word. 7 on the board, and it was 7-0. I don't know what practice is going to be like this week for 3GB and the Fire, which sounds like some kind of 80s rock band that did the the little circuits. Playing at La Villa, 3GB and the Fire. That kind of a thing. But that's what we're laying into this morning. For this matchup coming up this week, they're going to need you more than you've maybe ever thought that they needed you. So for the 17s that are going to be there for the weird start time on Saturday, which is going to be the beginning of a very big day for us, where we're all going to be there for Atlanta United Nashville. Then it's going to be the unified match. Then we're going to be calling the 2s in Huntsville, 8 o'clock kickoff. We'll have that on the network at soccerdownhere.mixler.com and the Mixler app and soccerdownhere.net. If you click the listen tab, you'll get the big red-green beacon going when we have something live. So however you wish to do it. So Mixler app, download it. Soccerdownhere.mixler.com. Go there. Or soccerdownhere.net, hit the listen tab. Big day for us where we're going to be busy from like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning until about 11 o'clock at night. But this is going to be one of those matches because of where they are right now, where they're going to need you. They need you pretty much every home match. But this is going to be one of those matches where they're going to need you that much more. 3-0 loss in Philly, 3-0 loss in Orlando. And we can get into game state and the first goal versus goals 2 and 3. Goals 2 and 3, once again, that is on the players. The first one from the penalty spot, and I'm like, no. So for those of you that go, it's going to be one of those days where they're really going to need you. When they're pushing, when they're pressing, when they're trying to get a goal on the board, they're going to need you to be behind them because as who was it that was talking to us last week? It was BWP. When Bradley Wright Phillips came on with us last week, and he was discussing everything about what's up with all the things. So, that's where it's all revved up in place. So, just be reminded that they're going to need you. Sorry, I'm going to take care of an email real quick. Because of a taping thing. All right, so now I know that. All right, so that's good. All right, so like I said, this is me, and it'll probably end up being a theme of the week. just to remind you that they're going to need you against Nashville. A, it's a rival. They're going to need you anyway. B, the mere fact that because of what's up, they're going to need you more than they thought. So let's see. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So that's kind of where that's where I'm going to be this week. So I'm also juggling soccer's in session. So soccer's in session looks like it is going to be it's going to be Chad Griffin from Hebron Christian, and it's probably going to be Nathan Nadeau from Dooley County to help us out as we go through brackets because they're not all done. They're not done on round one because of the weather and travel and things. We actually have matches that still need to be played from round one. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like I said, lay it all out to just lay it all out to what you're thinking when it comes to anything and everything. All right. So opening kick. I guess the siren song is probably opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And let me see if I can grab my designs here so I can lay it all out for you. All right, so there's your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us this morning. And it is once again, you go to our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, and what you do is you make sure that when you check out, you use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10% and reinvest it into the youth. Hang on just a second. Once again, another Soccer's in Session email just popped up. All right. So once again, just trying to catch up with John Cornett now, who might be diving into the pile. All right. So once again, Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Use the code SoccerDownHere15 to get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, there you go. Once again, like I said, hour two, it's going to be one of those things where it's just like, I'm going to run the sound from Ronnie. I'm going to run the sound from Alexi, and we'll get into all the things. But what I wanted to do, like I said, until Abe visits, I wanted to get what's on your mind. Like I said, just get it off your chest. Literally just off your chest. Whatever concerns you have. And Alex, yes, you do. Yes, you need to pull out your complete Works of Calvin and Hobbes box set to verify the reference. Absolutely, you do. So, and like I said, I was paraphrasing the ending, but that was kind of, that's kind of where I am with Reaction Mondays, and that's always been the thought in my head. So I've got 5 of the 6 frames correct. I just can't think of the 5th one or the 6th one where Calvin says his piece about the whole thing about sharing a bad mood. So that's kind of where I am. Sorry, David, I was referring to Calvin sharing his bad mood. Susie comes in. He's having a conversation. It's like he's coming in bad mood. Susie comes in. Susie's in a good mood. Calvin gets Susie in a bad mood. Then Calvin turns to the camera, breaks the 4th wall, and he's talking about that is nothing better than sharing a bad mood with somebody. All right, so there you go. All right, now it's time. Abe's like working and busy and things. So it's time to bring in Abe, and I know he's going to be coming in hot. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, I yield the floor to you, sir, considering I know that you're coming in like a house of fire. Proceed.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I hope you have like specific questions because I don't really know what to say once again about what we saw. I know some people are going to get frustrated with the first goal and the decision on the penalty kick and all that. And yeah, it's probably the wrong use of VAR, and that's a discussion to be had, no doubt about it, which I know you'll have. Mm-hmm. But you also can't respond like that. Like you just can't have a second half where you again continue to look irrelevant, essentially. And I mentioned it before with you. I mentioned it on the full-time report with Maddie. it continues to be way too easy for teams to score on Atlanta United. Turnovers and the inability to clear balls and stuff like that. Obviously, that was how the first goal was scored a week ago.
Yep.
Your inability to clear a ball, not getting the ball cleared far enough out, cost you again on Saturday night. And there's just nothing there. And it's very clearly not working. And I don't know why. I still believe there's talent on this team. But, I thought you were at the bottom, the lowest valley you would hit in that loss to Philly. And then you find a way to take one step further down into the depths of what are we doing here. So it's frustrating. And this is now an interesting time because I think that we are approaching some dramatic changes. And I think that Ronnie Dyla is now open to a couple of considerations that maybe he wasn't open to previously. Does that mean benching some of the guys that have been mainstays in the starting lineup? It might. It absolutely might. It has to be considered. Does that mean asking them to play in a manner they haven't been asked to play before, whether that's a little bit more defensive minded or a little bit more this or that? It might. Again, it's something that has to be considered. And then ultimately, does that mean you're looking at a different formation or players being moved around more dramatically within that formation? It certainly might. And I think these are all things that have to be considered. I don't think you can institute all of them in one day, right? I don't think you can ask them to play different while changing formation, while using players who have been reserves most of the season, right? I think you do have to kind of take a step here, a step there. But I think it's a time now where you have to look in the mirror if you're Ronnie Dyla and say, all right, this is not working. What's the first significant change? Because there has to be some.
So then how would you handle this week going in and training for Nashville? I mean, literally, how do you restore the smile, to quote Sean?
Yeah, and I mentioned this with Maddie because I know she's at training a lot more than me. And we see this often in training camp in the NFL. Like, there's two ways to approach it after a bad performance. Like, do you double down and focus harder on the training, or do you actually take a step back and maybe get away from it? And, in training camp, instead of having that second afternoon practice in the NFL, they'll go to see the newest Marvel movie or something like that. And I'm not saying they need a team movie cinema outing, but is there something that can kind of get you away and maybe loosen up and lighten up the training and not double down? From what I hear, it's been pretty intense sessions under Ronnie Dyla. I know that's the type of manager he is. Maybe at least for a week, you lighten up or do something a little bit different. I don't know. Maybe have the guys out on Friday for a little laugh session at the media match, which is coming up. Maybe remind them that they're still pretty good players compared to what they're watching us do out there. So, I don't know. I think something has to change. I just don't think you can keep hammering away the way you have been. And I do think it starts in training.
So when you look at, and like I said, and I told everybody, I said, we're going to play longer posts than normal. We're going to play longer than sound bites of Ronnie Dyla and Alexei Miranchuk coming up later. When you specifically are looking at things, what do you anticipate happening, and versus what would you like to see happen? Who are you looking? Who's in your spot shadow of like, okay, I need you to do something different, and who's in your spot shadow of maybe you need to kind of take a seat for a day or two? Have you thought that far ahead?
Well, it's just so tough because there's so many options. And if I think it was just personnel, maybe I could point some personnel. But I also just think it's like mindset and how you're playing and where you're playing with the ball. And so I think you probably, and look, this was a game that you did not have anywhere near the possession that you're supposed to be having. And so I wonder if you talk about it in that manner. Like, let's slow down our builds. Let's hold the ball a little bit longer. Let's try and figure out some things, as opposed to just forward all the time. That leads to a bunch of turnovers in dangerous spots. If anything, I would maybe play a little bit slower, which kind of goes against what you're asking certain guys to do, right? If Mickey, you want to get the ball in space, let him run at people with speed. Same thing with Latte Loth. And I just wonder if you need to slow it down at some point and figure out how to create team goals as opposed to just hope for, majestic moments from an individual, because whatever they're doing, however many minutes it's now been without scoring, it's just not good enough. So it's tough, right? Because you look at this team and you haven't scored goals in what, 3 matches or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. You're not going to replace the guys up top, are you? No. And maybe you are, but I mean, you've got designated players, you got big money players, and these are the guys that are supposed to be providing for you. And it just doesn't feel like you're going to replace them. So I would almost expect a formation change to be considered before I look at significant personnel changes. I know you had Noah Cobb and Luis Abram in there this week. I don't think you're doing anything different with Brooks or Pedro. Again, a lot of people are going to go look at Moranchuk. It's like, all right, would he be better in a more natural midfield as opposed to higher up and then moving Miggy central? And you can have those discussions, and I'm sure Ronnie Dial is going to, but I don't know what he's considering. But my first step would probably be a formation change before a personnel change.
Who in this run of form has done I'm not necessarily going to use the word well, but who has met expectations for you in this run of form, or has anyone surprised you with their form in this run?
Yeah, I think the problem is it's nobody that's healthy. It still goes back to the one guy that's been impressive has been Moyamba, and you're now without him for a couple of matches, and so he's not really relevant to this discussion. Goose, I mean, I guess, like, I think Goose has been fine, but it's tough to look at. Noah Cobb has a smaller sample size, but I would say none of the goals were directly on him, but he didn't quite clear a ball far enough, and that led to the third goal. And it's just, the problem is the answer is probably nobody. I don't think anybody is playing at the level, or certainly nobody is playing above the level that they need to be at. And that's why you're scoreless. That's why teams are scoring 3-goal games against you. And that's why you're sliding down the table in the Eastern Conference.
My next question, how long do I have you, considering I know that you're normally early and you hopped in.
I'm here. I lost track of time, but I'm here.
Okay. I was just checking. I didn't know if you were pressed to get back to the paying gig as opposed to hanging out with us.
No, we're good.
Just checking. I mean, you had the back line last time of Luis Abram, Noah Cobb as your center backs. You had Pedro, you had Brooks, you had Mateus Click, and he was a part of the discussion. You had Bart Sleesh, and then you had the big four up top. You're getting to a place where hopefully Mateus Click is getting to full song, because I don't think he's been 100% since training camp. And so having him back into the role that you wanted to bring him in the first place, I think that that's something that you can hang your hat to. I think that Noah Cobb early on in the matchup against Orlando, basically he out-physicaled a lot of the Orlando forwards, and there was one moment that sticks in my head of Noah basically body checking one of the Orlando players, the Orlando player trying to milk it for either a foul or a pen, and Noah basically stands over him and tells him to get up after he tries to milk a call from an official. That kind of fire, I think, is what you're looking for consistently across the board from everyone that goes out there for Atlanta United.
Yeah, I think one of the problems is, John, it hasn't been contagious, right? I think you've seen individual moments of certain guys kind of stepping into that role and trying to say, hey, guys, come on, let's go. It just doesn't seem to be catching on, unfortunately. And so it's nice to see, especially from the younger guys who are trying to be that guy that this team needs right now. But it also just isn't reaching up top for whatever reason. The lack of communication is a mess. It continues to be a mess. And the bigger question is, I don't know how this team scores goals right now. Like, obviously Latte Loth was out due to the yellow card accumulation. Like, Is it just from wide, like a ball sent in? He's been good with his headers so far this year, and even is that our best chance to score a goal right now? Because it doesn't seem like you'll be able to break anything down right now in the middle of the field. I know this is like the most boring discussion, and everyone wants to get creative with their formations, and let's run a double six, and let's do this, and let's a 4-3-1-1-1. Like, I honestly think like the most boring 4-4-2 needs to be considered. And I know it's old school soccer, right? But like, I kind of just wonder if you could put two forwards up top, Miggy and Loth, Saba, and then Moranchuk, Sleesh, and Click on the right side, and just run an old school 4-4-2 and see what happens. Latte Loth alone up top is not working. Moranchuk alone as a central figure in the midfield is not working.
But how much of that is on Alexi, and how much of that is on the?
No, it's not entirely on him, but it's just not working as a whole, as a general thing. It's not working. I want to see Click over there on the right side being able to whip balls in the way he did for Benteke a year ago. I'd like to see Saba, who has notably been always involved in defense. I think if you ask him to play midfield, get up and down the field, I don't think that's a problem. And see if Miggy and Latte up top together might be better served than Latte standing alone up there. I know no one likes the 4-4-2 anymore, but I just wonder, and I know Dyla talked a little bit about playing wide and keeping it wide at times, and maybe that would help from that aspect. I also think it would allow Brooks and Pedro to focus a little bit more defensively and not be forced to get up as much, leaving numbers as a problem sometimes. But something's got to change. That's the thing. Something's got to change. You just can't keep doing what you're doing. It's not working.
So you're looking formation change, and then you look at personnel and all this kind of stuff. Nashville's coming to town, and I actually use the word mollywop.
Yeah.
For the first time in a long time. I feel like I was born in 1890, which isn't too far away from it. But you're coming up against a team that's coming in like hotter than hot. Sam Surridge scored 4, and everybody's going, what? So, and they might be going just as what against what happened with Chicago. So you got a team that's coming in hot, and you're hoping that maybe they just scored enough goals for 3 matches and they just bypass this one.
Yeah, for a while it was a baseball score. Then it turned into a football score. They dropped the touchdown and nailed the extra point there on Saturday. Yeah. And it was quick, too. I mean, it was I think 5 in the first half or something like that.
30, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I was kind of joking with Maddie. I'm like, get them all out now, man. Score 10, score 12. Like, at some point, it'll start to even out. But, look, they're red hot, and it's just one of those things. And we've kind of had it at times. There's no reason for, like, mass optimism right now. But sometimes it's when you expect the least that you actually will be surprised the most. And so hopefully that's another situation where you're back at home. Everyone's kind of counting you out, backs against the wall, and we'll see what happens. I think, unfortunately, what's frustrating is we're seeing a lot of the same issues that we saw last year, even after Rob Valentino took over. And then it got to a point where your back was just entirely up against the wall, and you had nothing to lose. And the problem is you're too early in the season to play like you have nothing to lose. You do have something to lose, but you just wonder if finding a way to play like that. Ronnie Dyla talked about love post-game Saturday, and it reminded me of something that Valentino said last year, where these guys just aren't enjoying it. They're not having fun, blah, blah, blah. And you just got to find a way to get them to enjoy it a game. Look, it's a professional sport, and these guys are paid to deliver, right? They're paid to deliver goals. They're paid to deliver results. But, man, it would be nice if there were a way to have those expectations without pressure that's on them. Right now, they are feeling the pressure, and they're playing like they're feeling the pressure. I think the charge of Ronnie Dyla and Garth Lagerwey and Chris Henderson and everyone involved is to get these guys to not feel the pressure in game. and we talk about it, right? Just take it back to the schoolyard where you're just having fun, you're doing things. But obviously, that mindset's easier said than done.
All right. So what are the broadcast plans, sir, with Nashville coming to town at a weird kickoff time on Saturday?
Yeah, well, actually, the coverage for Atlanta United is going to start with Dukes and Bell on Friday. I'm sure we've talked. I think it's okay to talk about it at this point,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah, I think so.
there is the annual media match on Friday. I am very excited for it.
Yeah.
I will try to nutmeg Tyler Pilgrim once again, unless he is on my team.
There you go, bro.
But very excited for that. But I am going to be hosting Dukes and Bell on Friday along with Carl Dukes after the media match. So we're going to be live at the training grounds at 2:00, and I'm sure we'll be talking to members of the organization. And then, like you said, it's an early game, so 1:30 pregame show. Myself and Madison Cruz getting you ready for a 2:30 kickoff, and it's again, I don't want to start it too early, but it's one you really got to have at some point. At some point, you've got to find a way to start a turnaround. Hopefully, that is Saturday, but it is a matinee affair on Saturday.
No doubt about it. As always, my friend, great to see you on Mondays. Continue your proper hydration and enjoy what's going on up there at Colony Square. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
Sounds good, John. Appreciate it.
There we go. Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game, being properly hydrated on a Monday. And he's going to go through all of his see the jug that he traditionally has. It's about that tall. I mean, it's not like a standard thermos. I mean, it is like that big and that big around. You've seen him hop through it. So, and we've got to figure out one of the other things, because of the day being what the day is, we have to figure out post-match because of the media match on Friday. That's going to be fun. I believe that's going to be Mike and Jason upstairs, and it might be me and the Hoff downstairs. We'll figure that out. But I know I'm downstairs, and I know that Mike and Jason are calling the match. I know I'm on the sidelines for this particular match. So we'll see. We'll see what folks bring to the table for the media match. After, and as we said, after and it triggered in my head as Abe said it. So after the Nashville match is the unified match. I'm on the sidelines for that. So we have to figure out post-match because Maddie, I believe, is so it might end up being wow, we got to figure out post-match because if Maddie is doing unified and I'm doing unified, anyway, we'll figure it. Like I said, it's on-air logistics is what I'm trying to figure out. Okay. All right. So let's go through what everybody's been saying this morning and see who's in and lay it all out. Like I said, just lay it all out there. I want it off your chest and we'll discuss. But there were a couple of things that Abe said that I do want to address. In this matchup against Nashville, because they only have Sam Surridge up top, don't be surprised once again if it's four at the back, because of, and this is one of Jason's early adages that has always stuck with me, is that when it comes to center backs versus strikers, you always want to have one more than they do. And so since it is literally Surridge up top, you should be okay with your two center backs. So I think that you may not necessarily see a formation change. And like I said, and I'll put that in quotes because once again, we know what the basic tenets of what Ronnie Dyla wants to do are. 4 and then 2 center mids. And so those 2 center mids are going to be protecting you against Hani Mukhtar and everybody else that wants to come forward in the midfield. So your 2 center backs taking care of Surridge, and then also the 2 6s in front of those 2 4 taking care of Mukhtar, making sure he doesn't get any space. So at least that particular part of it. And like I said, 4-2-3-1 is what you stare at formationally in a graphic. But once again, once the ball is kicked, then the 3 in the attack, it might be a 4-2-4. Don't get locked into this idea of formations for formation's sake. It's probably going to be 2 center backs. You're going to have your 2 6s. So it might be a 4-2-2-2. Might be a 4-2-4. Let's just look. It's not dynamic. That's not the dynamic. So literally, once again, you see a graphic on Apple TV, and if it looks like it's a 4-2-3-1, don't wig out. because once again, once the whistle blows, things change. So it just focus on these couple of things. The two center backs going up against the one striker, always as a rule, have one more. And this is and I've always taken this to heart when looking at a formation. Always have one more center back than they do striker. Because if it was literally two up top, then I would say then you probably would have one of your sixes, maybe Bart, come back and be a third center back, which has happened before. And then the two sixes once again taking care of Mukhtar. But once again, the adjustments would happen in game, and then you match and all that kind of stuff. So just because you see a graphic that says 4-2-3-1 doesn't mean it's a 4-2-3-1. Because once the whistle goes, then things change. But just focus on one more center back than a striker, and then the two sixes probably taking care of Mukhtar. Or that one of those sixes dropping back and being a third center back to take care of Mukhtar, and then have your offensively minded six in clicks say move forward. So we'll see. Or if Jay on the left or whatever. So literally, that's what you're looking at this week. I would anticipate Ronnie Dyla at first and foremost making sure that the guys have fun. Like I said, after we go through what you guys have been saying so far in the Twitch pitch, I do want to play, like I said, I do want to play the Ronnie Dyla sound, and I do want to play the Alexei Miranchuk sound from post. But formationally, don't anticipate something akin to a formation change. And I'll put that in quotes. So you'll probably still have two center backs. You'll have your two sixes, which means you'll have your left back and your right back. So as we workshop this, it'll probably still be four at the back. Your back line of four, your two sixes, and then whatever happens with the other four, whichever four you choose, is what you're staring at. So, like I said, could be a 4-2-2-2 and looks at times, could be a 4-2-4 by look at times, could be a 4-2-3-1 at look at times, could be a 5 at the back if you want to pull one of your center backs, one of your sixes to be another center back. So, like I said, look at a graphic, you see a graphic, whistle blows, things change. But basic tenets, probably 4 at the back with two sixes. And then whatever happens with the 4, Miranchuk, Miggy, Latelat, Saba, or whomever the decision is with those 4, then whatever it looks like. So that's basic looking at things, and we're going to check in with our friends up in Nashville and see if they can join us once again for Oppo Research. Our buddy Lucas Panzica is taking his yearly European vacation. And perhaps he's going to take pictures from Greece or something, and he'll send them to me, and he'll make me insanely jealous. So we're going to be doing our Oppo Research this week, and we'll try and catch up with Lucas's broadcast partner. Then we'll see what we can do with that. All right, so that's just basic in looking at formation changes. Let's take a peek at some of the numbers and some of the ranking of the ratings from our friends at SofaScore, as we always do in this situation. Abby, don't know. Don't know. Do not know. Abby's wondering if Jarrett will be barefoot. I think he has 2 functioning cleats. I think he does. I think he's got 2 functioning cleats. And if he goes barefoot, it might actually benefit him. I don't know, but we'll find out. All right, so here's your starting 11. Once again, Brad, Pedro, Luis, Noah, Brooks. Your 2 sixes, Click and Sleesh. Then the 4 up top, Saba, Miranchuk, Miggy, and Jamal. Then coming in off the bench, it was Edwin coming in for Saba for the final 25. Matt Edwards came in for Brooks for the final 15. Jay Fortune came in the final 15, picked up a yellow for Click. Ronnie came in for a cup of coffee for Pedro Amador, and Luke Brennan came in on that same double switch for Jamal. So Pedro and Miggy both had 7s, according to our friends at SofaScore. That was the highest ranking on the team. Everybody else had 6s, for the record. Pedro, 4 clearances, 1 block, 3 picks. Won all of his duels, was 4 for 4. And 90% passing, 1 key pass. And that was it for Pedro. Just the 1 key pass I'm sure that folks are going to be looking at. So Luis, it was 1 clearance, 1 block, 1 tackle, 2 for 3 on his duels, 1 foul, 89% passing, 34 of 38. 5 of 8 on his long balls for Luis Abram. Noah Cobb, And I'll say this right now. I like the fire that we're seeing out of Noah Cobb, and especially that moment where literally you had the Orlando player, I forget who it was. It might have been Muriel, where inside the 18, basically trying to draw a foul, and Noah just looked over the top of him, basically yelled at him to get up. That I love. And to Abe's point, you're looking for that to become contagious. And you want the lineup, and that's the other point that we're going to have to be looking at is this, excuse me, this particular lineup. So it is, you want that kind of fire. And I think that's what you're probably looking for in what your starting 11 is going to be. Who is going to give you that kind of I'm not going to take any ish from you. I don't care who you are. You could have scored 4 goals last week, but you want to try and go down in the box and draw a PK. That's not going to happen. So let's see. Once again, I'm trying to go back and forth with coaches here and set up Soccer's in session with them as we're talking. So I apologize if I have to duck out and send quick emails. So the kind of fire that you saw from Noah, you're hoping is contagious. And to Abe's point, you want it to be. And that's why I think that this week at practice, I think that you're going to be looking at who's going to give it to me, who's going to give me that same kind of emotion and, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore kind of moments. What does it look like? I think you're okay with Pedro. And Luis Abram is a very quiet individual. And do you want that kind of quiet effectiveness out of Luis? What's the health status of Derek Williams? Do you, if Derek is healthy? And these are the questions going forward. Is it Matt? Is it Derek? Is he healthy enough? Is it Luis? And then Brooks on the right. Then once again, your midfield is probably Click and Sleesh. We'll go over Click and Sleesh's numbers real quick, but here's a Noah. 1 clear, 1 pick, 4 total tackles on the day. 4 of 5 on ground duels. He won his 1 duel in the air, so 5 of 6. 1 foul, 91% passing on 53 passes, and then 1 blocked shot for Noah Cobb. So getting into Click's numbers, gave you 76. I don't know where he is on the 90-minute scale. But here's what you got from Mateus Click. 76 minutes, 87% passing, 54 of 62. 1 for 3 on long balls, 4 for 9 on ground duels, 1 for 1 on the dribble. 3 total tackles and 2 dribbles passed. Bart Sleesh had a 6.9. Click had a 6.7, by the way. Bart played the full 90, 51 of 57, 2 key passes, 1 cross, 2 long balls, 1 block shot, 2 for 3 on the dribble, 5 of 8 on ground duels, 6 of 9 overall. 2 fouls, a block shot, a pick, 3 tackles, and called for the penalty, which wasn't, but we'll get into that. So then Miggy had a 7, Miranchuk a 6.6, Saba had a 6.3, and Jamal had a 6.8. Jamal on the day, I think he only had 14 passes, 87 minutes, 2 shots off target, 8 of 14 passing. 7 of 9 on his aerial duels. 7 of 9 for Jamal in the air. And so that's what you got from Jamal at a 6.8. Saba played 65. He was only 12 of 15 passing. 1 key pass and 2 dribbled pass. So it was a rough day for Saba. Miranchuk, 90 minutes, 24 of 28 passing at 86%, 1 long ball, 1 successful dribble attempt, 2 for 3 on ground duels, 1 pick and a tackle for Alexi. Miggy, 37 of 41 passing. His X match was a .27. 1 long ball, 1 shot off target, 3 shots blocked, 2 for 2 on the dribble, 4 of 5 on ground duels, 1 foul, 1 offside, 1 pick. And so that's your starting 11. Actually, not your starting 11. I hadn't mentioned Brooks. Brooks had a 6.8, 75 minutes. X game was a .14. 1 clearance, 2 tackles, 4 of 5 on ground duels, 5 of 6 total in his duels. 32 of 33 passing for Brooks Lennon at 97%. 1 key pass, 1 cross, 1 long ball, and 2 dribble attempts successfully and 1 shot off target. So that's your starting 11. Then Jay's numbers, once again, in his cup of coffee, 18 of 18 passing. You saw Dax McCarty's, you might have seen Dax McCarty's comments about Jay as being their most successful midfielder last season. And Dax is a fan of Jay being in the lineup. 1 for 1 on long balls, 1 for 4 on his ground duels, and he had a tackle. But 18 of 18 passing for Jay when he came in 14 minutes. And then you had Ronnie come in for a cup of coffee. Luke came in for a cup of coffee. Matt Edwards, 15 minutes, 1 clearance, 1 pick, 1 duel, 8 of 9 passing, had a cross and a long ball successful and a key pass in his time. And then Mosqueda in 25 minutes had a .17, 7 of 10 passing, 1 for 1 on long balls, 2 shots off target, 2 for 4 on ground duels, 1 tackle and a dribble pass. So there are probably some questions when it comes to who you're going to line up and how you're going to line them up. That's probably the biggest thing this week is what you're looking at when it comes to the starting 11. What does it look like? Do you bring in Jay? Do you bring in Matt? What does it look like up top with Latte Lot coming back? Is Jamal a second strike? So all these things. But once again, that's in the attack portion. I would anticipate, 4 at the back, 2 sixes. So is it Click and somebody? You don't, once again, you're probably monitoring Mateus Click week by week, trying to figure out how many minutes can he give you. 75, that was a lot. Whereas Mateus Click in his getting back to full song. What's your combination? We've seen Jay positioned in a graphic on left wing. Is it Jay? Is it Bart and Click and Jay on the left? Like I said, all of this stuff in the attack is probably where your questions are going to be. So let's see. Let's see who's here since we're pushing the beginning of hour number 1. Morning, Alex. Morning, David. Morning, Emilio. Morning, Michael. Let's see. Morning, Derek. Let's see. So who else is here this morning? As I'm showing, it's all of you are going back and forth. Yes, Abby's in for a quick sec, and one shot on target. Yeah, and you had the one shot by Saba that wasn't given credit, and then I think there was another one late. Early returns were that there were no shots on target. That was incorrect. So, yes, VAR re-reffing the game. Yeah, we'll get into that. Like I said, there's some stuff to get into in reffing down here that we'll get into in hour number 2. But like I said, I want to play the sound from Ronnie and I want to play the sound from Alexi, and we'll analyze that. So, let's see. So, morning, Abby, and Abby's looking for the bonding experience offsite. Let's see. Emilio and Abby, and it looks like that might be everybody. And let's see. Oh, morning 4 card. Let's see. 4 card. And so there we go. I think that's everybody. So good morning to everybody who has chimed in on the Twitch pitch. Obviously, good morning to everybody who is here. And good morning to SDH AM. Let me get the promos out of the way. That'll get us into hour number 2. That'll get us into sound, and then we'll get into thoughts and VAR and everything like that. Okay. All the promos, which reminds me, this gives me a chance to check in on the Kickstarter campaign from our friends from the Marshall Islands. All right. So we are trying, once again, to let you know if you have not had the chance. All right. So 19 days to go, 7,200 short of 26,590. So that's where they are right now. 74 backers. It's all or nothing. for them by Sunday, May 18th, 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's like 8 a.m. local time in England on Sunday, May the 18th. So 19 days to go, and they've got about $7,000 to get there. So they're like it right at about 75% of what they're chasing to at least get the seed money going so they can have the Outrigger Challenge Cup with our friends at the Marshall Islands, and they can have Guam, Turks and Caicos, and the U.S. Virgin Islands all come for the week in matches to be played August 14 and 16 at John Brown University in Northwest Arkansas. Buy the gear. Abby, I don't know if they did credit Sabo with a shot. So if they did, it was after the fact, because post-match they did not. So with our friends from the Marshall Islands, here's the deal. Once again, you buy the gear. Most of it gets shipped from England. You buy a scarf, it gets shipped from the other side of this door. And then what you end up with, once again, is a piece to help them, keep the lights on, pay the basic bills, that kind of a thing. The Kickstarter campaign is something that is totally different, but, it's their chance to showcase the growth of the program 11 v 11. And so, once again, if you are compelled, there's the address for the Kickstarter campaign to help them out. Once again, all or nothing. If they don't get the extra 25% here with 28 days to go, or with 3 weeks to go, then it ain't happening. But we're going to try and trumpet this as best we can to make sure that it does happen, because it's important as a part of Soccer for Good and the growth of soccer in and of itself, and for the Marshallese community right there with about 3 weeks to go. So Kickstarter campaign, first ever matches for our friends at the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Buy the gear, it comes from England. Buy the scarf, it comes from me, other side of this door. And so I'm to the point to where I'm almost having to reorder, which is always a good thing. But once again, you want to buy a scarf, comes from me on the other side of this door. Also on the board, you can go to Grady Baby Co., and you can get our Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta sweatshirt and T-shirt. If you invest in that, then what you're doing, you're helping middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta public school system. And once again, you can get it in red. You can get it in black. On left cuff, you get the SDH network logo. Right cuff, it's the Grady Baby logo. And you get to help out that way, once again, with APS as a part of our Soccer for Good campaign here in 25. Also in 25, go to Olive & York, get the first ever SDH jersey presented by Kaiser Permanente across the front. Beyond Goals on one sleeve, Soccer for Good on the other. If you watched on Friday, you saw Michael Parkhurst wear his. So that is something that you can do. Once again, it's a part of our Soccer for Good campaign, and you can see just how well it's modeled by SDH resident models Greg Garza, Sofia Cupertino, and Maddie Cruz. So once again, you go to Olive & York. It's the Navy jersey, and consult with either Alex or Abby when it comes to personalization. Either you can have white personalization front and back, or the Carolina blue, sky blue, Columbia blue, double blue, whatever you want to call it. Figure out which one might fit you best, and then that way you can make sure that you are sporting. And like I said, I don't personalize. I've just got the basic SDH with the floppy collar. That's all I've got. So I know that some of you have personalized, but and if personalization is something that you want to do, check with Abby, check with Alex, and you can figure out which shade might be best for you when it comes to all of that stuff. So there's that. You can become a Fanatico, and you can do that for $10. $10 a year. What do you do for $10? Well, what you can do is you can be a Fanatico, and you get some really cool discounts. You get really cool discounts. And it's like 9 gazillion places that you can get discounts, and you get to be a part of the community here on the Chant app. And I'm trying to figure out how to do it where it's not splashed into the light, where it's shining and you're blinded, for those of you watching in the video form. Get to be a part of our Fanaticos community. You get a lot of great discounts at a lot of great restaurants. You can get, there's One Tires Plus where you get discounts. You get restaurant discounts with food and drink. You end up with going to breweries in and all around the upper half of the state here, and you get discounts there. And you also get a discount if you want to go to a resort in Costa Rica. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Group.chant.fan/soccer down here group.chant.fan/join. You can do that, and I think I did it right. Change. There we go. Group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. I did. Okay. So go there, and you can become one of our fanaticos. You can be a part of our conversations and a part of our intel here. Once again, this is Soccer for Good material is here as well. So once again, group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join, and you can be a fanatico on the SDH network. Thanks to all of you who have been so far. And if this is something that you are inclined, just to give you an idea, let me give you an idea as to all of the different joints that you could end up wandering into and getting discounts of a certain degree. Brass Tap in Marietta, Moxie Hotel Midtown Atlanta, 20% off hotel food and beverage if you're a fanatico. South Main in Watkinsville, Schoolhouse in Marietta, Hard Cider in Marietta, Elixir in Buford and Monroe, Round Trip in Marietta, the East Cobb location, Social Fox in Norcross, Keys to Flavor Catering, 15% off your first catered event. Fado Midtown, O'Sullivan's, you get 10% off a gear. You wander into O'Sullivan's. Yes, you get $5 select beers and 10% off your food bill, but you get 10% off a gear. Remember, Decatur FC season's coming up soon in WPSL. Lloyd Soccer, you get 20% off select Atlanta United gear if you're a fanatico. Finished Goods Brew Works and Winder, Slow Pour in Lawrenceville, Outrun in Stone Mountain, Tires Plus in Alpharetta. If you're a fanatico, you get discounts on stuff with them. Dad's Garage downtown, Chateau Arenal. That was the place I was trying to remind you of. El Castillo, San Ramon, Costa Rica. You get 10% off a booking with a code if you're a fanatico. Battle and Brew and Wild Leap, and those folks are increasing in number as well as we go. So that is what you're staring at. So if you're a fanatico, group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. So like I said, all right, let me play the Miranchuk sound and the Ronnie Dyla sound, and we will address each. The Ronnie Dyla sound, yes, it is long. It is about 4.5 minutes. It's worth your time because what we want to do here is we want to do things and we want to give it context. I know that when you listen to or when you listen to your favorite radio station, when you watch your favorite news station, they only give you 20-second sound bites. The mere fact that we have 2 hours gives us the opportunity to do deep dives and have longer discussions about things. Ronnie Dyla's conversation, and this is Q&A from after the match. And then we'll discuss it, and then we'll come back, and then we'll talk because we also have sound from Alexei Miranchuk, and it's about 2.5 minutes. And it's part of Jason's questions with Miranchuk that are a part of this. So let's get into the Ronnie Dyla stuff from the matchup against the purple team. And there it is. All right, so here's Ronnie. And like I said, it is long, but like I said, it's worth it because it gives you the full answers to what he wants to try and see going forward about his optimism, his observations, and everything going forward. So here's Ronnie Dyla, long form after the match this past Saturday in Orlando against the purple team. Here's Ronnie Dyla.
I think they're listening too much, maybe, I think when I see today and I see last week, I don't see anybody that's playing on the level that they normally do. And I can tell you one thing, there's one thing these boys is to want to improve and want to get better and want to win, that's for sure. And I think the first 30 minutes to 35 minutes to the penalty, we are good organized, we have a good away game, we can be more accurate on the ball, but you see also very lack of confidence on the ball. And then when we come down, you see like a lot of fog in their heads, almost like you see that we are always 1 meter too late. I don't see a lot of smiles, I don't see a lot of communication with the body, anything. So again, as I said last time, this is things that I have seen before. It's my task now and my responsibility now to get our players in the right mood into every game. And what I can say to everybody is like, for sure, it's not that anybody don't want, not me either. I think almost we want too much, and now we have to take care of each other this week. because it's going to be a fantastic game now coming to Nashville at home, coming back again home. But we need to show ourselves from our best side, and then we need to enjoy it. We have to come there with smiles. We need to come there to attack the situation, and nothing to be scared of. We have to accept the situation right now, and it's not a situation we want to be in. At the same time, we are in it. So talking about results now, that's not the right way to see it. We have to think about our performances, and they are not good enough. It's not good as we can be, and we have shown that earlier in the season. And now I think just we are in a as I said to my players also, we cannot be. I think the bottom is reached in a way. So now it's about how we can turn this around, and then we learn more about ourselves and then more about us each other also, and we learn as a group, and then we become stronger from it, for sure.
When you saw this before at previous teams, how did you get out of it? Was it trying new personnel? Was it trying new tactics? Was it trying new things with a psychological coach? What did you do?
It's like it's three things. It's about love, it's about safety and trust, and it's about fun. I think that's the three main thing that we need to. Something is wrong there. I think we really try to make each other better and to take care of each other. But I think when everybody wants a lot and like, oh, we want to show who we are, we want to show how good we are, and then you go through the game 100 times before you have played it, and then that is tiring. I'm sure everybody that is have some years on the a little bit up in the years have felt that feeling. So that is for me now. How we can get our smiles back, how we can get the safety into us, and that we can attack the situation, because now it's more about scared to lose than to attack, and I think that is a mindset. And again, you have to look yourself in the mirror and you see your team, and I think also I feel much better now, but I think also we have been overworked, everyone now. And yeah, that's where we are. As I said, I take a lot of responsibility for this. I know how good we can be, and now it's about how we can be ready for Nashville, because that game is nothing to look at. That's people wants and tries, and we are organized in moments of the games, but in the end we are second in almost everything around on the pitch, and that is more. It's not one or two; it's the whole team, and that's something we just have to
Nothing like running a soundbite and then sitting there and just hitting your mute button. You know what I'm saying? I know. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, John was muted. John was muted because he's an idiot. Abby's calling me, telling me, yes, I am screaming into the void. All right. It's a Monday. Thank you, Abby. All right. So out of the Ronnie Dyla sound. It's a Monday, no question. That'll get tightened up in the edit when I post the audio. All right. So here's what I was trying to say before I unmuted myself. So yes, I am screaming into the void. Incredibly wise. Coming out of the Ronnie Dyla sound. Like I said, we'll play the Moranchuk sound here in a sec. Now I'm frozen. I am not frozen. I am not. We all want to impress our bosses. And we are always grateful for the opportunities that we have wherever it is that we work. And when you have this run of days at work where you're doing amazingly well and everything's great and your bosses are proud of you and you're proud of yourself and you take pride in your own work. You go home, your family wants to throw their arms around you. How was work today? It was great, and then you talk about how great your day was. Then you have one mistake. Then something happens and you end up with another mistake. Then you start to question yourself. Go back to the conversation that Jason had with Greg Garza last week about competitive stress. That would be the required reading of the day. And what I would do there is just go back and listen to what Greg has to say about it. When you make that first mistake, okay, you can shake it off. You make the second mistake, you can shake it off. It takes a little longer, but you're still kind of sitting there and you're going, well, man, okay, I did that again. I got to make sure I don't. And then if something happens and the folks around you in your team, regardless of what business we're talking about, something happens on the assembly line. Somebody hits all on an email that didn't need to be sent to everybody in the business. Then you start to pull back from who you are. Then you get to pull back from who you naturally have become. That person that you are incredibly confident in being when you're out there doing your job, you start to become self-conscious. Then you try to correct while being self-conscious. And you may not correct to the point that you would have previously. Then that one mistake turns into two, turns into three. Others around you see what's going on. They tighten up just as well. And because of all of the things that happen, it does become contagious at points. So, to what Ronnie was saying, sometimes it can be the most difficult thing in the world to reclaim who you are, especially if you've had a run where you can't get out of your own way. You become self-conscious, you think about it, then you might think about it too much. And then it's about overcoming your own self-doubt and overcoming the doubt that you know is there from everyone around you. And I think that it can be just as simple as getting that first goal. Because you're north of 3 matches now that you haven't scored. I think it's 352, I think is the number. It's the matchup against Dallas when you scored. But sometimes the most difficult thing is to step out of that fear that you have of making a mistake. considering mistakes have been made in the past. So that to me is where we are at points with folks that you're looking at with Atlanta United. Afraid of making a mistake. Jared hops in here in hour number 2. So I apologize to everyone ahead of time that I might have turned this into a bit of a Psych 101 class.
Oh, no.
Well, no, just the notion of sometimes when you make that, I went back to Jimmy McGinty and the movie The Replacements, and the discussion that they had in the meeting room about quicksand. And it was where you make that one mistake, then another, and you're stuck in the quicksand. And it's the most difficult thing to do is to get out of it. No matter how hard you try, sometimes you can't get out of it. But it's just that one thing that can turn it around for you. Oh, I do remember how to do this. And you get that one game where, or that one day at work where you had a clean day. And then what you do is you try and build off of that clean day to try to have another. Then off of that one, you try to have another. And that's where I think that Ronnie in his post-match press conference was getting to. It's like you want to try and strip away everything that has happened poorly and get back to having fun and positive reinforcements and these kinds of things. And belief, I think, from coaching staffs and all of that is a part of this, where you don't want them ishing on you considering what's happened over the last 3+ matches. And that positive reinforcement helps out in this regard where, and we talked about it with Steve Cook, as a matter of fact, where Steve Cook in the twos, where Steve makes a point these days. I don't know how long this has been a part of his coaching DNA, where after a loss, you talk about the things that were positive. After a win, you remind them about the things they can improve on. And so right now with the first team, it's one of those where Ronnie Dyla is reminding them about love and positive reinforcement and all these kinds of things, and about the faith that they have in each other, which you hear in the press conferences, that they believe in the system, they believe in what they're being taught and what they're being shown on a weekly basis. It's just that you're in that quicksand and you're trying to get out of it.
It helps when you have mental fortitude, though. And right now they don't have that.
Right.
Like, all of that is great. All of that is great in theory. But when something goes wrong and you seem to just fold, none of it matters. And right now that's where you're at. Like, you looked good for 30 minutes. Like, you weathered this. Like, Orlando was in a weird spot too in this game, because they had to spend about as long as a time as Atlanta had. Different, Atlanta can throw a clean sheet when they need to. But it didn't. But you weathered that initial storm. They're starting to feel even more pressure than you are at that point. You get the penalty. Look, we can debate it all day long, but and honestly, I thought the response after the penalty was fine. Like, they didn't collapse immediately. Even got a half to the end of the first half.
Right.
But then it just gets sloppy in the second half, and then it folds. And so all of that is fine in theory. But if you don't have the mental toughness to deal with it, then none of it matters. And right now, I don't think they do. I don't know how to fix that, though. But Ronnie Dyla has talked about it in the past, that, wanting, even early in the season when everybody thought things were bad and they weren't this bad.
Yeah.
Because you early, and it's the thing that makes me feel like I'm going insane, is the discussion point around changing formation, doing this, that, and the other. You were running out what you have right now, and you were absolutely bossing some games in the first 45 minutes, but you weren't finishing the drill. Now you're not even doing that. But you're going to have to basically buckle down with it mentally. And he talked about it at the time, that he wanted guys to not worry about making mistakes. Play loose, play free. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. What you do in those situations, go watch teams that play that Atlanta has played. Well, the thing that I will keep coming back to, and we talked about this yesterday while we were dying on Lindbergh, is the that when it feels like right now everyone doesn't have everyone else's back.
Yeah.
When you watch a team that is in really good shape, that is in really good form, that's together, when someone it doesn't have to be the damn Burnley clip that I saw where they rushed 11 guys back and everybody wanted to tag Atlanta. Oh, Atlanta United this. Y'all, it's not realistic to ask a team to run 11 guys back like it's like youth soccer, like the ants coming up on Honey Drop on the carpet. Come on, be real for a minute. Just a minute, be real. But it's more about having each other's backs. It's more about when someone makes a mistake, someone else is stepping up and taking responsibility to clean that up. And I feel like now, and that part of that is my complaint that this is an amazing collection of talent. I think they are roster for roster, incredibly talented group of soccer players right now. They're like a team. Yeah. They're not picking each other up the way they need to. And it's tough because you get it when you get down mentally, it's so hard to not even like the quicksand analogy. It's just hard to pick yourself back up. If you've ever had those moments mentally where it's brutal.
Yeah.
And it can be hard to find the light in it. It can feel like you're being naive when you're trying to find it. And it's a lot easier sometimes to just sit in the dark. How you get out of that, I don't know. But at some point you have to, because I said it last year when Argonzo, no one's going to feel sorry. You can't really feel sorry for yourself. Also argued at the time that firing the manager wasn't going to fix everything, and didn't. And you're going to have decisions to make over the summer. I think you felt good about what you had going into this season, but right now it's not it, man.
No,
like you're paying way too much, and it's not even just the latte lot thing. I know it's the $50 million is producing this, but it's not just latte lot. And obviously, he didn't play Saturday because of yellow elation. But it's Saba will work his ass off, and I said before the season, Saba is a great Joe Johnson. Yeah. He is a great 2 or 3. But asking him to carry the load, he's not going to do it every week. Not because he wants to, not because he won't put in the work, because I think he will run himself to death for this team. I think he will work himself to death. But not what he is. But you're getting what you need out of Miguel right now, and I'm a proponent for give Miguel this week off against Nashville. Yeah. I know everyone's terrified because Nashville dropped 7 goals in Chicago. This is MLS. Nashville could go throw a damn blank spot Saturday. We don't know. There's no way to predict. But I'll tell you, I would be really, if it were me, I would be really tempted to give Miguel the day off for the same reason you give a hitter the day off when he's 4 for 35.
Right.
Take a day, have a seat on the bench. If we need you off the bench, we might call on you if something weird happens, but don't expect it. This isn't a punishment. This is I need you to get your mind right, and I need you to take a day. And I need you to just breathe because Miguel looks like he's pressing like crazy. Yeah. And I would love, personally, I would give him a day. I would give him a game off. And like I said, it's not a punishment. This isn't a use, and I'm going to play Alexei Maranchuk because that's what I care about kind of thing. This is I'm giving you the day off for the same reason I give a struggling hitter a day off, especially if it's series kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I got a hitter who's struggling. I'm giving him day 3 I'm giving him the 3rd game off because we're traveling tomorrow anyway. So he gets a day, have a seat in the dugout, joke around with your friends, loosen up. I have to go play today. Take a day, breathe. We got a travel day tomorrow. Take that day and see if you can just reset him. And if Alexei starts pressing, do the same thing next week. Play Miguel in the 10. Tell Alexei Maranchuk already had he had that injury to the adductor, but give him a day, and not like a day where he's banged up and he's recovering, but like, hey, I know you're healthy. I'm giving you a day. I'm giving you a game off. Don't worry about that. You can control here. I need you to let go and just take a day and reset yourself mentally, because I'll call on you next week.
Mhm.
But right now, you're not helping me, because Miguel wasn't helping me in Orlando. He wasn't great. You can scream left, right, and center, up and down, in every damn direction on the stick that'll take you, that you want to play him as a 10, but right now he isn't great. He's pressing. It's not working. And he's not me just picking on him, but he's the one that I think is the easiest to give him a mental day. Him off, let him rest, and see what he can be coming back, man.
To go with the numbers, last season in all competitions, Miguel Almiron, 14 appearances, 328 and 84. So that is 412 minutes. 412 minutes in 14 appearances last season, all comps for Newcastle. He almost has double the minutes that he had in all of 24-25 in the first 9 matches that he has played this year for Atlanta United. 2 goals and an assist, all comps. So that's where Miggy is right now. He's already played twice as many minutes as he did last year. He's starting. And I think, regardless of start him, sit him, you know coming in that Miguel Almiron wants to have the best impression possible. He wants to put the best impression possible upon this return. And you can sense, and we talk about pressing, that Miggy is pressing. Because of all of the expectations that are external and the expectations that he has on himself about this return. But once again, I would remind everyone that he is 7 years older than he was when he left. It's not like
I didn't. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, it's not that you don't step into a cryogenic chamber when you leave Atlanta and come back and you're the same player that you were when you were 23 when you left. Go for it.
We said this when he was signed here. I don't need 2018 Miguel Almiron, excuse me. I don't need 2018 Miguel Almiron. I need 20 Miguel Almiron. It's a different player.
Mm-hmm.
He's bigger. He's older. He's going to be stronger. He might not be that he's also in his 30s now. And when your game is built on speed, guess what? One of the first things to go can be is that just straight line. How quickly can I get up to speed over 15 meters? I didn't need him to be Team Miguel. I need him to be 2025.
Right.
And whether or not he's feeling that as well, I can't say because I'm not in his brain. But he's not the only one who's pressing. I don't think he's the easiest one to give that break to, though.
Right. Unless
you want to give it to Miranda and Miguel in the middle. But also, I would be interested to see if you do it with one of them. I don't know how you balance the wings. I don't know if you would rather have Luke out or Edwin from the start. Because both of them will go at people, but give you a little more balance on both sides of Latte Lot in the middle. With Saba on the other side. We can talk formations. We can personnel all day long, but you're not in a situation, unfortunately, where you can just I would love to be able to go to them and say, same thing we said last week, John, and I hate that we're still in this discussion. I would love to be able to go to them and say, hey, we've got a game this week. You're Monday. You're doing nothing. I don't want you to think about this sport. I don't want you to think about this team. I want you to go spend it with your family. If you want to out with tuna, you want to go to the aquarium. If you want to go shoot the hooch, like the old days in the 90s, everybody would. There were enough tubes in the hooch where you could walk across, and everybody would fill a milk jug with liquor to it and tie it to the raft and drop it in the water so it stay cool. However you need to do it, that's what I want you to do, and I want you to come back to stay refreshed. You can't afford to do that right now. Partially because you got personnel decisions to make about what you want to do. Because I will continue to scream at kids until I'm blue in the face because they care. And like I would be very tempted with Sam Sturridge coming in this week to play Efren Morales next to Noah Cobb. If you're worried about, well, you can't play two kids. My answer then would be, what are you worried about? Giving up 3 goals? Because you've done that 2 games in a row playing veterans. Now you've played Noah Cobb next to the veterans. Like, what are you worried about? Giving up goals? You're already doing that at a clip, man.
Then with Surridge, you have someone with Efra's height and stature that you can match him in the air, and with Noah not giving 2 grand royal you-know-whats about what your name is.
Well, Noah's also one of the fastest human beings.
Yes. You want to lock down free safety, that's what you got with Noah Cobb.
Like, Noah's just that sneaky fast white guy. Go out there and you play pickup with him, you're like, wait, you're not supposed to be that fast.
Uh-huh. And, so if you pair Efra and Noah to go up against Surridge, frankly, on the surface, I like that matchup. I like that. And we talked about, in hour 1, talked about how your formations would look. I don't anticipate a change, at least in your back 4. And probably in your 2 6s. I think that your other 4 would be what you're staring at. Formationally, like I said, not names, but formationally. But to your point, because you're going to want 2 center backs to take care of 1 striker. If it's Noah and Efra, which is something that you and me and Jason and Maddie have seen for quite some time, we know what Noah and Efra can do as a group.
You do. I think you're also in a situation. I've got to get Jay on the too. He's been too good. Care at this point. Look, you are getting to a territory, I think, where you're going to need to start throwing stuff at walls. I personally would love to see Jay out there. Hell, man, put Will out there too. We saw Will Riley one time, and he ran like a rabbit being chased by a mini bike.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he didn't care what numbers.
Run them out there. Run Luke out there. Run. Edwin was great coming back from injury. And I know Edwin Mosquera is like, he is another version of Shande in the sense, and he's a different kind of player, I think, obviously, but he is going to run at you, and he is going to take guys on 1v1 on the wing. I would be thrilled to see more of the kids in this game because, play the young back line. Play Matt Edwards if you have to. If you get weird and play 3 in the back, I know Ronnie Diala loves to play 4 in the back, but at this point, whatever it takes. But I need guys who are going to go out there and fight, because also in the back of my head, and I will tell you, John, this is one of the things that makes me uncomfortable. Not all the way down. Alex, we're getting there. What makes me uncomfortable is one of the most disappointing games I've seen this team play in years was last year at home against Nashville, if y'all remember. They lost, I think, 2-0 against a bad Nashville team. Also, BJ Callahan is actually a pretty good poster child if you want to like play the wait and see card with your manager, because when he came in, he had to change up Nashville, and they were bad last year. They were bad to start this year, and it's clicking. Yeah. It's clicking now. You've figured it out, and that's good. I'm happy for them because I think BJ Callahan's style is more fun to watch than Gary Ball, even though Gary Smith, one of the nicer human beings, like a good dude. And I wish Gary nothing but success, but BJ has gotten them into a more fun style to watch, because it kind of fell into that category of Nashville was winning. Yeah, they were fun to watch. And the second the winning stopped, the fun went away. It stopped being happy fun time. However. That game last year, you got physically abused in that game. Ronald Hernandez got damn concussed in that game. Nashville was throwing cheap shots at you, and John, you didn't do shit.
Nope.
You did. Go back and watch the end of that game. Ronald Hernandez clanged from behind hard. And I had the same damn problem with Falcons back in the day, man. But like when Harvey Dahl left the Falcons, when like you didn't have that shit kicker of an offensive lineman, remember Matt Ryan would get roughed, get cheap shot. Nobody did a thing. They'd up and they'd walk back to the line. No, someone cheap shots my guy. We're standing over.
Yeah.
We're shoving him back to the ground. I was because I was supposed to do. The reason I remember this game the way I did is because I was supposed to do the on-field post game with Rob Valentino because Garrett was out. So I was down on the field watching all this happen, and saw Ronald get clattered late. It's 2-0, and no one does anything. Everyone boos. Like people complain to the ref. Like Goose comes out and yells, which is new because he's on the other end of the field. If I'm not mistaken. But after that game, we were supposed to talk to Rob Valentino. Rob like ghosted us. He walked around, he applauded the fans, and he dipped out.
I remember that now, yeah.
But that game was embarrassing because you didn't show anything. You did better the rest of the way. It shouldn't have taken that to unlock that from this group, but I'm sensing a trend, John. I'm sensing a trend of a bunch of guys who don't mind getting hit. Who, I said they don't stand back each other up right now. Like when someone makes a mistake, there's yelling, there is gesticulating, but there's not just digging deep, pulling out your own kidney and handing it off to somebody else to get the job done. And like I said, right now it's like a group of players. It's not a team. They're not fighting like a team. They're not working. And that game sticks in my head. And now Nashville's coming back. And guess what? DJ Callahan's Nashville would do the same thing again. They will punch you in the nose. So what are you going to do about it? How are you deal with it? How are you going to do it when Nashville comes punches you in the face? And like I said, no one's saying drop 7 goals.
No.
I know it. That's kind of the easy. You are everyone's get right game right now. Literally, New England hasn't lost since they beat Atlanta. You woke up New England. You kind of helped wake up Dallas.
Yeah.
You are the get right game right now. But no one's going to feel bad for you. They're going to take advantage of that. They're going to knock you around. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to respond? Show me something.
Yeah.
Show me some fight at least. Like you show me the fight. Show me we might lose the game, but we won't lose the fight kind of thing. And show me some fight, because right now, like it feels like, I know Gustavo mentioned anxiety. Ron, and the thing with Ronnie's quotes is I feel like they're sometimes they're just going to get taken out of context. Like I what he's saying, like last week where he talked about, we have to look at the, we have to look at this as a chance. It's like, I know he said this because you have to look at it as a way to get better. And it's one of those things that when a guy speaks 3 or 4 languages, stuff gets weird.
Well, and that's why I wanted to play. I played the full 4 minutes.
Yeah.
With Ronnie.
Because
so folks.
Yeah. Because he's not saying it's a good thing that you suck, but you have to approach it that way. You can't go to a room, start tearing lockers out of walls, telling everyone they suck, and like telling them to kick rocks. Like you have to approach it that way as the manager, because it's your job and he's doing his job. The game should be fun, though. I agree with him what he said Saturday. The game should be fun. They need to trust each other. They need to relax. They need to play carefree. Like, yeah, mistakes, but I feel like so often right now they're making mistakes doing simple things in their own defensive half.
Yeah.
That's different than, trying something in the attacking half and trying to play a through ball or trying to do something spectacular or trying to be creative. Like that's the kinds of the free mistakes that I want to see from this team, and we're just not right now. I don't know how to fix that. I wish I did, and if I did, I'd probably have his job. The same goes for all of us who have different ideas on what you would do to fix it. Just no cut and dry way, man. But you better show something because Nashville come in here and punch you in the nose. What are you gonna do?
And they're more than happy to come down here in a rivalry match. And we've reached out to Will Bowling for our opposition research, and hopefully Will can join us this week, considering that our buddy Lucas is vacant. Yeah.
West Bowling?
Okay. Well, no, Will, because Will's the one who's paired. Will's paired with Lucas.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've reached out to Will, and so hopefully Will can join us since our buddy Lucas.
It's two Bowlings.
I know. Yeah, and since Lucas he picked this week to vacation, and so Lucas recommended Will, and so we'll see if we can get Will on for Oppo research this week. But to your point, that's one of the things that Brian Dunseth brought up last week in conversations, that we brought up last week in conversations, that we brought up during this run of form in conversations. Who are the leaders? Who are the leaders going to be? And it is, in cases, it is the younger players that are doing it. To your point, I think that if I'm Ronnie Dyla, I'm looking at what happens this week at practice. And, you know, if the younger players are the ones that, you know, like Noah, like Ronald Hernandez, who are the first ones to grab that crest and sit there and they know what it means. And you look at somebody like Braden Dunham for Braden Dunham. Hashtag sorry, kid.
I'm going to slow everyone down. Braden Dunham's not quite ready yet.
But I mean,
don't read into this the wrong way. Braden Dunham's doing work for the twos, though.
Yeah, but to my point, it's the younger players are the ones that understand what it means right now to play for that crest, stand over players, tell them to get up and do their thing. So if I'm Ronnie Dyla this week at practice and I'm seeing the first team group, and it just so happens to lean toward younger players that are the ones that are busting their you-know-whats out there at practice, and you see a back line that looks different to your design, if the back line is Pedro, if it's some combination of Pedro, Efra, Noah, Matt, Will Riley's in the mix somewhere, Luke and Edwin are a part of the match day roster, don't be surprised, I would say, in all of that, because if the younger players are the ones that are busting their you-know-whats, then show me something to your degree. I want to know who the leaders are. I want to know who's going to stick up for their teammates. And I want to know how that's going to work this matchup against a rival when you need all of those things.
Yeah, it's on the bench. You'll have a lot of kids. I think I will say I was disappointed when like the subs were coming. Like you're bringing on Luke in like the 85th minute. Like I'd love to have seen it earlier. Yeah. I'm not in Ronnie Dyla's brain. Love to have seen that sub earlier than the 85th minute. It was like, yeah, hey, ain't nothing else working. Go make something happen, Luke. Go get stuck under somebody's skin. We've seen that, and we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, I don't suspect that Nashville's going to come in and drop 7 goals.
No. I don't know.
Don't take that to the bank. Because you never know with MLS. Like,
no, but I don't know.
Man, this league's stupid. Atlanta could drop 4 goals on them. Like, this league's dumb. Yeah. Like, could just go super aside the Thanos, fine, I'll do it myself philosophy. No, we'll see.
No, but I mean, I don't know what happened to 3GB in the Fire, our favorite 80s cover band. But it was 7-0 before you looked, and then it was 7-2 with a couple of by the ways. But
yeah, it was. Yeah, but that was man. You know what I would love, John? I would love an by the way.
Yeah.
Last 2 games, I would love and I'll give them this in Philly. They hit the post once. They forced Andre Blake into a world-class save. You didn't do that against Orlando, and I was like begging them, like 85th minute. I'm like, just go find a stupid goal. I don't care if you scored off of Luke's face and break his nose. I don't care if Edwin Mosquera like accidentally heels it off someone's butt and it trickles in over. I don't care. Just go in the net, please.
Yeah, because I
And
mean, you see what
can't even get that
no,
right now,
I
man.
mean, you saw for those that were watching Messi and friends play FC Dallas yesterday, you had the one goal off of Falcone. It was a shot, and it ricocheted off of Falcone's left boot, and it takes a weird spin, goes past Calendar, and that started the comeback for FCD. And it's something like that. Literally, it's just like, you know, if you get a moment, you get a goal, and then it's like, oh, I remember how to do this now. And you take that momentum and you take that evidence and you play it forward like that. I think sometimes it is just as simple as being reminded, A, from what Ronnie was saying about having fun, and then B, just getting that first goal to refresh your memory and go, oh yeah, I remember how to do this now. And so give me an oh, by the way, give me something on there just to hang your hat on to carry momentum forward. And if it's one of those fluky flukes, from Fluky McFlukerson that gets it into the back of the net, then sometimes that's what it takes. That's just what it takes sometimes. Here is Alexei Miranchuk. Let me play this from Alexei post-match, and then we'll discuss it on the other side with what Alexei had to say after the match. And once again, this is longer than normal. It's longer than normal. It's about 2 to 2.5 minutes. But once again, when I play these chunks, it's because I want everybody to hear the same thing, and I want it to be the long version, not just the 20-second soundbite where you can sit there and say, well, he said this, when actually he may have said something else. So here's Alexei with Jason, and these are Jason's questions post-match after the loss in Orlando this weekend, provided I can remember to hit the unmute button when we're done.
I totally agree. So I don't want to like go deep in all of these things, but all I can say, it can't be forever this period. It cannot be forever. So we gotta stay positive, keep working hard. I know it's tough for everybody, fans, because we're working hard. We wanna give everything on the field, and we wanna give them joy to watch our football, and to get 3 points, to be on top of the table. But sometimes things not going their way that we want. So gotta be together, all of us, and it's like it can be one game, good game, it can switch like other way. So keep working, trust the process, and believe.
What are the things that you guys can do this week in training to improve the confidence within the team in the attacking half?
So tomorrow we had day off. Obviously, we have to like spend the time with our family, friends, just get out of all of this, just so have fun in some way. But in the further week, I don't know, like how to say, trying to say some good things, like if somebody lose the ball or something, like just give them like, don't worry, we're good, we're all of this and together, so keep working, keep doing your things, and we're gonna go through this.
How important for you in times like this where it's frustrating, how important is your family to you to get through it personally?
Yeah. Family is for all of them also tough period, and they understand we're gonna go back home, not in a good mood. They have to find some words to keep our energy up and our confidence up. So for them it's also tough period, but that's why we're family,
Alexei Miranchuk after the match, and it was a point that was brought up by Emilio and Alex. And Alex, to your point, he is very shy, and there are, especially, when you are in a situation where English is not your primary language, you're learning the language, you know how to talk. You know how to have conversations, but when you're being asked about things, then trying to formulate what you have in your head. Sometimes, like I said, it may come out differently, and we have to look at contexts and things like that when you have conversations with athletes. He is very shy, and there are topics that you can open doors with Alexi, and then you get him to open up. You get him to. I had an interview with him last year, and we were talking about rap, and he's a big rap guy. And I was asking him about songs and the stretch of the season. I said, okay, give me a title of a song and an artist that would apply to the run that the team was on at the time. And he gave me an artist. I had no earthly clue, and so I'm asking him back and forth. It's like, yeah, is that the song or is that the artist? He goes, no, that's the artist. And so that opened the door, and he laughed at the old guy asking him a question about rap music. So it also, when you hear Alexi in these situations, in these post-match situations, he's also very invested, and he gives more than just one ish about it. And you hear how he's invested, you hear how disappointed he is. He is not the only one who sounds like this, but when Alexi is used to on the field success, it's different in Major League Soccer when it comes to scheduling and parity and all these things that you're running into. So it's a combination of factors. But yeah, you hear how Alexi is invested, and that was just a small sample. Alexi Jarrett went, I want to say, like 6.5 minutes with Q&A, but on multiple fronts. You hear how he's invested, and you hear what it means to him to be in this run of form, and he wants to get back and have he wants to get back to winning ways just as badly as anybody else, and that was part of the conversation that he had post match on the weekend in Orlando, and I wanted to run the Jason's questions as a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for him because he is a bit more soft spoken in line, and I think like I said, what you are missing right now from this group is someone to grab the group by the collar, and it's hard to drag that if you don't have that guy. And Alexi's not that guy. He's a guy who'll go out there and play, and he'll play, man. Like I could make a super cut of like moments where Alexei has like played some insane ball that he did a couple early in the season. I forget who it was against. He had one or two where he played these. He had the vision to play this insane ball down the right, and Brooks just didn't make the run. Like if Brooks had made the run, it would have been like, it wouldn't have been in on goal because it would have been too tight. But I mean, it would have been like he could have basically picked anyone he wanted for the assist.
I want to say it was like with the outside of the right from like 45 yards or something. And
no, this one was at the edge of the 18. Okay. Like, but he was closed in, and it was the kind of it's the kind of thing you always want when a team is bunkering against you and you're having to down that shell. Yeah. Granted, that hasn't happened to Atlanta in a while. We haven't had that problem. We've had different problems instead. Problems scoring goals and getting punched in the face. But he is a more quiet guy. And yeah, they all feel the pressure, and they want to win, I guess. That's the thing I'll always kind of come back to is like, guys still want to win. Even if they're in a nice place, even if they feel like this is somewhere they can be for years, they still want to win because no one actually likes losing. No. But they gotta just kind of find a way by hook or crook.
And sometimes crook is a way to do it. Before we get out of here.
Yeah. We are running up on time.
I do want to get into reffing down here a bit.
Oh, God.
I mean, you had another situation, and I've got the audio. I haven't pulled it yet. I may run it tomorrow, where you had another situation, and it was not just in the Atlanta match, but in L.A. and St. Louis, where it happened again with the same individual who's done it previously, where you had re-refereeing of calls on the field. And like I said, and we've gotten a lot of feedback from folks in our conversation that we had with Mark Geiger, and I think a lot of folks are looking at that conversation at points, and they're looking at him like Kevin Bacon at the end of Animal House, where the parade is turned into a riot, and Mark Geiger is the Kevin Bacon character standing on the sidewalk, yelling at the top of his lungs, "Stay calm, all is well." And you had once again a moment where, well, and Derek says that VAR is destroying football. I don't think it's destroying it. I think that you need to have individuals who are who are comfortable in the notion of, oh, I don't know, letting the call on the field be what the call is, and not. And this was specifically why I asked Mark Geiger about crew assignments and how you're gauged. And he said 3 months, 3 weeks to a month out, you're trying to figure it out, and that you assign juniors to seniors and so on. But there's always that perceived notion, Jarrett, that the senior official, who, if the senior official is your VAR, is going to overcorrect in a situation, and that's not what VAR is for. It's video assistant referee, not video assistant re-referee. That would be,
And that's the thing, though, is like that's the nuance again. There's nuance. There is nuance into this, in that you occasionally run into these situations where when you pair a referee with a VAR, and one of them is more experienced or more dominant than the other one, you'll get situations like that. Now, was it a penalty? I'm not losing my mind. I wasn't losing my mind that they gave it for the Orlando penalty. Like, is he going down? Is he looking for it? Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Is there contact? I think so. I don't know. It's one of those that I don't know if I would have overturned it either way. If you had given the penalty and gone back and looked at it, I wouldn't have flipped it over and said that's not a penalty.
Yeah.
Going back and looking at it that way, I've also watched them in other game league not involving Atlanta not give that as a penalty because the ref had said, well, he's already looking for it and going down, so he didn't give it. It's the lack of consistency with the way it is applied. Granted, that doesn't change the whole game because you gave up 2 more goals in the second half just being sloppy as hell.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. And I think it's unfortunate the way it's done by the VAR in that moment.
Right.
But I would love for them to nut up and release the actual audio, the Saturday morning VAR releases, because they used to do it. They don't do it as much anymore. They'll just release the video. Not release the audio. Like, let people hear it. Let people hear the conversation. Like, that's what I want. Is I want to hear what's between the VAR and the center ref.
Yes.
And the VAR and the assistant VAR. Let me hear what that conversation sounds like, so we can get an idea of, oh, that's what they're looking for. Okay, that makes more sense. That kind of stuff. Give me that.
Yeah.
But no, we don't really do that, and it's very annoying.
No, and it is being misused because of the lack of, Derek, the consistency in the officiating, where there are times where you look at it and you look at VAR and you go, okay, that's an overreach, because it is the phraseology that we always bring up: clear and obvious error. So tell me where in either LAFC in all caps or in this matchup involving Atlanta where the call on the field was a clear and obvious error, where you want to take, in the Atlanta case, the extra step. And like I said, we're not discounting goals 2 and 3 because of what happened on the field in those goals. But once again, you have the lack of consistency in the implementation of the rules of a clear and obvious error. And I regret not asking Mark Geiger about clear and obvious error. And Derek, also to your point about a time limit, involving a decision. Because, to your point, Derek, again, if it takes 3 minutes to make a decision, it is not clear and obvious. And like I said, I regret not having asked Mark about clear and obvious error and also a time constraint but I do have the feeling that I know what the answer would be when it comes to time constraint, is that, you have to look, like I said, and this is me playing out a conversation with someone in authority, where if you discuss a time limit, well, they're going to have to be looking for something. And then that would go back to the point that we're making here on the whole, is that if you are looking for it, then it's not clear and obvious. And I would agree wholeheartedly in this situation, where if you're spending 3 minutes on a review, then it is not a clear and obvious review. Once again, clear and obvious error. Clear and obvious. You're re-refereeing at this point. Video assistant re-referee. It's VARR. It's VAR. Katie, I don't know. Katie wants to know, how does MLS rank with percentage of goals from penalties? Feels like there were lots of penalty goals this weekend, but maybe it tracks with other global leagues. I don't know. That's a good question. Probably would have to go to like who scored or something like that to try and determine what that looks like. David is like, it's the U12 match where the 17-year-old center ref was doing fine. Her dad was the AR. At times inserted himself into the game where he didn't need to. She was totally in control. Long-term hurts the game and ref development by not letting the actual center ref run the game. Yes. Let the center ref do their job. How do they grow if they don't make these mistakes? Or even if it wasn't a mistake, in this case, I don't think it was. I think that it wasn't a foul. Like I said, Jarrett and I will disagree on foul, not a foul. Only activate VAR with a coach's challenge, Alex says. You can only review at full speed instead of looking at it like, and that's the thing, too, is that if you are VAR, and if it's not clear and obvious, and you go Zapruder film with it, if you sit there and you hit the toggle button and you're going zzz, zzz, then you're looking for something. You're looking, it's like, oh, okay. And then Alex is reviewing, say, only review at full speed. So in the Orlando City match, Edvin Jurasevich was your VAR. In the LA match versus St. Louis City, you had Daniel Radford as your VAR. And then LA and Portland, the late game, which went absolutely off the rails, Jurasevich was your VAR there. And I don't think, if I remember watching that one entirely, there was some late there were some calls late on the field, but nothing to the point of, oh my God, it's got to go upstairs. So I don't believe there was anything inside the 18 for Jurasevich in Galaxy and Timbers. But once again, you're trying to figure out what's up. But no, I like the idea of full speed. And Alex maintaining 2 challenges, you lose 1 if you're wrong. Treat it like American football. Derek's like, Alex, only frame by frame should be defined point of contact for potential offside. And then if MLS goes to semi-automated, then in theory you would have Cyclops there, and you would have that notification. So if it's being tested in the Premier League, then you get to see everything else go forward from there. So, like I said, I wanted to bring it up just because of VAR, video assistant re-refereeing, which we had, and I'll find the segment with Jason and Mike from the match in Orlando and play it. And once again, to the universal point, if it's 3 minutes in a review, you're re-refereeing. It's not clear and obvious at that point. So yes, I do regret not asking Mark Geiger about clear and obvious. And I also regret not asking about the re-refereeing in a situation like that and trusting the officials on the field to make the call. So that's, Alex, I need a rim shot. Problem with Cyclops, you can easily fool it clinging to the underside of sheep. Yes, true. So, Alex, with the Calvin and Hobbes reference this morning and the Greek mythological reference this morning. All right. So this week, Kaylor Hodge is going to join us at 10:30 Eastern tomorrow because it's the last Tuesday of the month, and we will discuss what's going on with the USL Championship and 110 M32. Glad you're here as always this morning. I saw that you popped in hour number 2, and that's don't understand why there isn't a time limit on VAR. Absolutely true. Got to be a time limit on these things. Once again, if it's not found in say 2 minutes. 90 seconds to 2 minutes, you're fishing for something. You're fishing. You are looking for something to call. You're looking for something to call. Morning, Wiley. Also, let's see. In session is at noon. Chad Griffin, the head coach of the boys and girls sides, Hebron Christian, is going to bat leadoff with us. And it looks like Nathan Nadeau, the head coach at Dooley County, is going to be joining us around 12:20. Tomorrow on in session, looks like John Bowen is going to be batting leadoff with us from Stars Mill. Kaylor Hodges is going to be on at 10:30 tomorrow as we continue to discuss everything going on. And Derek, like I said, 90 seconds to 2 minutes. 90 seconds to 2 minutes. That's what I'm hunting for. Just give me that, because then if it's there, it ain't clear and obvious. Tuesday, we'll go over what happened in Major League Soccer. News out of the Purple team this morning, by the way. It is our friends in Orlando are expanding their reach when it comes to who they're hanging out with, who their buddies are, and that now includes Black Knight. So if you end up seeing Dean Houston or Milos Kirkesh or anybody, Tyler Adams, with Orlando or Hibs, Lorient, or Auckland FC, Orlando City this morning announced a new affiliation agreement with Black Knight, focusing on player development, scouting ops, executive collaboration, and commercial opportunities across both organizations. So then you ended up with a quote from Luis Muzzi, aiming to align elite talent development with operational best practices, leveraging each club's strengths across North America, Latin America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. A couple of sentences from Luis Muzzi. Training and development players and staff from both orgs will benefit from structured training periods and trials designed to cultivate talent and foster professional growth. These exchanges will provide unique opportunities for immersive development experiences within different competitive environments. Scouting and best practices, observational visits and exchanges means you get to hang out together. Then Tim Bezbachenko, who is the president of Black Knight, looks forward to building a strong connection that will benefit players and clubs. The Purple team believes it is a bold step in their continued evolution. So you re-signed Pareja, and you have kept, I think, Luis Muzzi, I think, as well. And so now Black Knight with Bill Foley, Ken A. Holdings, formed in 2022, Bournemouth, Auckland FC, Lorient, Hibs. And now they're hanging out with the Purple team. So that was part of the big business of the morning. Marcus Rashford also is apparently out for the year, involving the injury. He's missing the remainder of Villa's season. I believe it is a hamstring injury. Forced him out of the FA Cup defeat by Crystal Palace. Will have a scan, but it is not thought to require surgery. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Let me get out, and then I'll get out of here because we're back at the top of the hour once again with Soccer's in Session, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Once again, Chad Griffin from Hebron Christian, Nathan Nadeau from Dooley County joining us at 12:20. Like I said, Tuesday we'll catch everybody back up on Major League Soccer and everything there, and we'll have Kaylor Hodges at 10:30. Then it'll be Tyler and Dylan on Wednesday, and we are efforting our folks from Nashville for our Oppo research in session on Wednesday as well before we go to McIntosh and Johns Creek. That will be Wednesday evening on the campus down there at McIntosh. So McIntosh and Johns Creek Wednesday. We're trying to figure out where we're going to be Thursday and Friday. Sorry, allergies. So Thursday and Friday, we're going to have matches. Wednesday's match will be at McIntosh for Johns Creek and McIntosh on the boys' side, 2 top 7 teams in that classification. Thursday, once again, the Power Hour with Nino and Nico in session. It's going to be Coach Lawson from Jeff Davis, and it's going to be if they win, we will have a winning coach on at 12:30 on Thursday, and that'll be the last in session for this week because of the media match on Friday. And at 9 o'clock on Friday, 9:05, it's going to be Kareem Tamimi, and he's going to bring friends. We're going to talk about something this weekend that is going on with KSA and Gruther Firth. And so we're going to have some fun there, catch up with our friends, and we'll see if Michael Parkhurst is actually at Tidewater Landings with his phone, and he can give us the tour about everything going on there. And we'll have an interview with USC Upstate at 3 o'clock as well. Like I said, matches Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from the high school ranks. In session Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so we'll have another stacked week here as we are now in round 2 of the playoffs. But we still have some folks that we got to figure out who they're going to be advancing to round 2. But yeah, tomorrow we'll catch up on everything that went on the weekend and with Major League Soccer and all that. So today, Fox Deportes, Peru Primera at 2 o'clock, Sporting Cristal and Juan Pablo II College, Uruguay Primera at 2 o'clock, Racing and Cerro Largo on Gold TV, Paramount Plus, 3 matches available in Serie A, Udinese Bologna, Hellas Verona Cagliari, and Lazio and Parma. English Championship as an Issues and Giggles match at 3 o'clock for Leeds United. Leeds is hosting Bristol City at 3 o'clock. And so that's your day there. Let's get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we get out of here. And we can give you, once again, all the rumors we can think of. Obviously, the biggest rumor is Carlo Ancelotti. Apparently, he's going to be having a discussion with the front office at Real Madrid, and Brazil wants to lock him up as their national team manager as quickly as humanly possible. Now, ATLUTD have made Cristian Romero one of their top targets this summer. Manchester City expected to move for Juve fullback Andrea Cambiaso, with the Italian club turning their attention to Arsenal's Nuno Tavares, who's on loan at Lazio, 3-letter paper. Newcastle, Manchester United, Spurs, West Ham, Chelsea, Liverpool, all interested in signing Jonathan David when his Lille contract expires in the summer. Marseille want to persuade him to stay in France. Manchester United have offered Mateus Cunha a 5-year deal if he opts to move to Old Trafford. Chelsea pushing hard to seal the signing of Kenan Yildiz, the 19-year-old forward at Juve, but face competition from Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, and Manchester City. Manchester United remain interested in signing Crystal Palace's Jean-Philippe Mateta if they're unable to win the race for Liam Delap. Newcastle working on a deal to sign Kim Min-jae from Bayern Munich this summer. And the shortlist for defensive reinforcements also includes Sporting's Ousmane Diomande, who we've talked about with Nino. We'll probably talk about that on Thursday. AC Milan's Malik Thiaw and Dutchman Jean-Paul Van Hecke from Brighton, and that's from our friends at GMS. All right, that's another Monday. Thanks to all of you folks for dropping in, as you always do. And we will continue these conversations. Like I said, I want you to get all this stuff off your chest because Nashville's coming to town, and it's a chance to get things right and get a step forward. Once again, smallest victories sometimes take just one step. We'll see if that happens this weekend. We'll talk about it all week long. You've heard about the Cast of Thousands. You've heard about the programming that we're going to have over on our Mixler channel with our live matches and here on the network with all of our live talk to get you prepped for the week across any and all divisions, high school all the way to MLS and what's going on there. So can't thank you guys enough for hanging out with me as you always do here on SDH AM. Thanks to Jarrett for parachuting in and discussing things as well. So for everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. That's another go round of SDH AM. Since it is the end of the show, I get to do this, but we're coming back in 45 minutes for Soccer's in Session presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente as we take you into round 2 of the playoffs in the GHSA and talk to some winners in round 1 as they get ready for round number 2. See you in 45 minutes here on the SDH Network. Thanks for dropping by. Happy